Good morning. This is the Crypto a Day morning, and today's date Saturday, 20th day of October 2018. Welcome to the Money Charts channel, all bets, trades of the like within one's own risk reward. Well, there's our pattern of matching lows within this horizontal line and lower highs. And the lower highs have just been numerous on the daily term. As I pointed out yesterday, that even this quick little rally that happened so fast technically managed to be a lower high from this previous one, and not by much. And we were having continuation of this extreme low volatility markets grinding to the downside. And what's really interesting is one of the things I want to talk about today is when you have powerful uptrends and downtrends, what do you expect? Well, powerful uptrends, you expect rallies. When they have your big rallies, that all sell-offs, which is the case here, that the sell-offs can be hard, but because the rallies are so big, it's oftentimes going to go to places like the 18, maybe break below like in this case, and definitely previous resistance points coming into play as support is what happens in that spot, but then it just rallies so fast from that point on. Opposite's true in a powerful bear market, that the quick little rallies, they are going to fail, and then of course lower lows come into play. Now this is really tough to say a pure bear market for this, because it's denying that so far, or it hasn't had that of lower lows. It made this low in the early part of February of last year. We're now getting relatively close to 1 year out now. I mean, a decent amount of months to go, but November, December, January, and a half a month after that, so 3.5 months away from this being 1 year out. But since that point, all of these lower highs, all of the matching lows. So is this a powerful indecision neutrality trend? Because descending triangle is really what that pattern is, lower highs and matching lows. That is a form of neutrality. And people tell me, and the trading community states, and it's so true though, that the indecisive neutrality kind of trends, like a descending triangle, usually resolves itself within the primary trend. Well, what's that primary trend? Is it this down move, or is the primary trend all of these up moves? And I'm going to leave that, of course, at that question mark, because I can make a case for making both the up and the down move as the primary trend. But a lot of indecision continues. It seems as if this is like the never-ending story, because it's just taking so long. But again, because the lows were February, and the setup pattern of that 6,000 key level, and not being able to make any type of up move, significant one, since then, has kept the market in the same storyline for quite some time. So the volatility yesterday's session was in at a low of 63.56 on the rounding, 64.12 on the high. So that would be 44 to make the 56 go to 6,400. 44 plus 12, that's about 56 and a half. 56 and a half was the differential from high to low. 0.9-ish%, not much. In today's session so far, with about a half a day to go, a low in at 63.63, that's 37 to get to the top, plus another 24, that would be 61.62, so really close to 1% volatility. I mean, the stock market's doing more than that right now. I'm just saying. And one of the things that I love about the crypto market is that, it crushes the volatility of the stock market. But right now, if it's moving in 1%, that's extremely low. So until anything happens to state, oh, we're ready to get out of it, then it's still in the indecisive mode. That's why, as I was mentioning, in uptrends, the fast sell-offs down usually follow through with high rallies forward. And I guess when you have a very strong indecisive neutral market, when you get these moves, first the move that goes down here, then the move that goes higher, you're like, oh, okay, something's happening. It's either going to set up a break of support and another leg lower, or it's setting up a bull market. And one of the things I'm going to be looking for on the setup of the bull market is if it has a failed breakdown below. And was that the case here? Oh, going sideways up. Maybe on this day here, October 15th, that's the case. You have the failed breakdown. Comes back to where it came from. But in that situation, usually it's going to follow through and break higher relatively quick after that, within a day or two. But not in this case. As far as how Bitcoin is trading against the differential on Bitfinex, we can see Coinbase is relatively same, only about a $3 differential in price. That's normal. But this, again, has been consistently higher. Right now, it's $183 or so. 180 from here. You need a little over 60 for 1%, given the price is 6,400. So 64 is 1%. So 192 differential would be 3%. So it's a little under that now. And as we can see, that the price action is a little bit different compared here to that of the standard market. We're going to see Coinbase is going to look about the same. Yes, it does. All right, some coins of interest. The volume really is something that I don't like on this chart right now, but everything but says, wow, this looks pretty interesting. As within Cloak, this has been in a downtrend, and a steep one, going from 259 or but even the 313 handle all the way down to 24,000. Okay, so you lose about 12-13x. But what did it do? What did it do before? It went 70 to 313. Pretty decent sized gain of around 5x. And of course, the decline has been so large. We take a look at this on the 3-day time frame. It's been very choppy, which is one of the reasons why I do like this coin. And the choppiness means if you're going to have moves like this isn't choppy to the downside. This is straight down, meaning on the buy low, sell high, very limited sell opportunities, like maybe 1 or 2 up in here, and not much more. And then moves like this, I can sell up here, buy down here, sell on this day, buy back. But does it look like it's going to fill some of the space? Maybe not get to this previous high, but get a decent rally breaking above this level of resistance, and maybe come up to this previous point here, starting at around the 70 number. That would be close to double from where it stands through. Within the 3-day, we're seeing a lot of strength amongst the 18 average of highs. Amongst the daily chart, you have this level of resistance that is established here. And what has been the story within such? It pierced above it at this point here. So there's now another level of resistance. Don't be surprised if breaking past this little area around 42 change, that it makes a fast move to about 46.5. And as we're looking at it within the 18, after coming back down from this low, it's had a few periods resisting the previous level of such, staying amongst this point, but I'd like to see this break out on a decent size amount of volume. At least areas that are close to September 25th and October the 1st, but more so is a significant break from the volume on October 17th. It's very, very low. So if I'm starting to see any type of breakout and it's supported by very good volume, then I would be definitely considering there's a good probability that not only will it get to this level here, maybe a very short-term support or resistance, but maybe have a good chance of hitting that level that I talk about near the 70 mark relatively quickly. So that's something of note, but again, I want to see the volume on that improve a little bit. As far as another one, POA is an interesting, decent one going on for a while. It's up quite a bit from this low to a degree. I mean, it's been down for quite some time that it could easily fill some of this empty space in here. Previous support at about 24, that's better than double as it lies right now. But it had this nice little rally up to this point in here, back down to the 18, starting to lift higher. So it's in an uptrend. So I'm not really as concerned on volume anymore on this one here because of this move here. But what I'd be concerned is if this thing starts to go up and then high volume comes into place, that'd be toppy situation, or that would be making the top for a while. I think Poly has an okay little. Well, with this one here, this was pretty cool because on this particular day here, and I think the hour time frame is where I want to show this. This day here, this was cool because it's like a free Binance coin is how it worked out to be. I had two sell orders hit. I had one hit around the 23 mark, right around here, maybe 22.5, and then one hit at 29.9. So I didn't get the top. I could have got 36, could have got 34, but I got 29 and change, like around here, 29.9. And I was able to buy it back up immediately. A few hours later, right around the 215-ish at level. And what's interesting about that was I bought exactly the amount of coins that I sold in both orders combined. And it cost pretty darn near close to exactly the amount that I sold them for at 29, meaning the amount that I sold in here, or the first sell order, worked out to be free Binance coin on the sale because as it went from here to here, I still have the exact same amount of coins, but I have a little bit of free base currency, which is nice because I like to get into new coins, and I did within the top loser in that of Lend. So let's take a look at this one here. I talked about it yesterday on the daily chart. This is the situation here. I have to trade this probably to be very cautious because if this move becomes a failure, then this could have a decent hit to the downside. I do like this volume that came on within this rally. And my first thinking was, okay, let's just try to buy it at 280. Or that's where I think it's going to come down to. That's by 281. And as I'm going to take this on the 5-minute time frame even. So I bought at 295 yesterday, which would have been right in here, which would have been right before the video was going on, because I didn't buy much. I bought 1/3 of a normal size holding, but with the intention of selling if it had a very good gain. And quite frankly, it was good, but my sell order was south of the 340 area. The move happened instantaneously. And I ended up getting out of this at 311 as it was starting to break down in here. It was, yeah, it would have been in here. I would have been, yeah, because I remember seeing it going higher. Yeah, that's right. So I would have sold at 311 in here. And then I placed a buy order in at 281. And that buy order did hit, as we can see here. The low was 280. So this move here got me in. And why did I pick 280? Well, 280 was this level of resistance here. It was this level here. So it's an area for where it came from, which is Well, I figured, okay, if this is gonna have its normal thing, that's the area where it's probably going to find that level of support. I still realize though the 18 average of lows, it can still come into place. Right now that's in at 238. So I'm going to stick with it. I'm not and up until this point, but if I see weakness amongst the 18 average of lows in any level, then I'm probably going to have to sell. So I'm not going to use any type of stop loss number, but that instead is how I'm going to do it. But I do think that the potential for decent sized gains, it could be very, very high, especially on a coin like this that came from 2,700, is down to 284 now, was down to 140. So we're talking like 20-ish X type of moves down. This rally here went from 478 up to 10. Nothing too great to talk home about, going up about 125, 130%, but still, it did so within. And now the question is this able to have a decent sized gain? There's high volume here. And if you look after the fact, if this happens to be a top in at 339, and the volume doesn't go anywhere near this high for a while later on, and it just continues to go lower, then that's normal to see key lows. And we can see in here as it's buying through that the volume came in. So that's what I'm looking at myself, is that this is the early volume stage for a possible reversal in trend. And I realize that the amount of gains, seeing this thing come up to, like, hopefully I can see it come up to 566, maybe pull back to 300 and something, then maybe make a move up to 1,000, which is this resistance, this level of support. And then either from there, it could either come back, find support at 600, and if it doesn't resist 1,000, maybe it's going to go to 16, 17, or over 2,000, because that's what happens in these markets. When you don't find resistance or support where you're supposed to, oh my goodness, the moves can just be escalated higher thereafter. So if this market's going up and you're like on an area, well, oh my goodness, it's up so much, the Bollinger Band says this indicator says that, everything is saying that it's way overextended. Okay, well, that's great. That means that it's going to, at some point, have that decent fall. And oftentimes, from key areas, it's going to do that. But if it doesn't, the gain that can happen thereafter is magnificent. Same thing, if it's going down a lot, it's supposed to stop going down, and it doesn't. And then you have another 2 or 3 or 4 days that, oh my goodness, wow, was that ever something? So that's how I look at a lot of those key levels amongst such. So this one here, ARN. This one has been doing well so far amongst holding up this rally that has came into place. It broke this level of resistance at 6,000. Had one leg higher up to a little over 10, comes back to the 18 lows, has another leg higher up to over 15, back down to where it came from. And so now we've had the higher low, a lower high, if that's going to be one, because until you break below this support, which would give you indication, especially if it does it really quick, that is probably going to maybe come down and test this previous level of resistance at around 6,100 as support. But there's a difference of breaking this level at 93, stating it could very easily go down another, well, 30-ish or so percent. And if this high holds and it doesn't go down there, or it even supports that low, and then you start talking about these two levels of resistance now. One at the 13.3 handle. So if you see this market starting to move above that, then you're talking about probably having a decent chance of even getting above the 15,000. But that being its next level of resistance, breaking 13.4 would be 15.2. And if you see any moves breaking above that, then you're talking about, oh my goodness, another leg higher is most likely ready to come into place. But within all of these markets, we're going to see a lot of big moves higher, big moves lower. This isn't much of a big move higher, and I think one leg higher would make it such, though. But whether that is the fact or not, meaning whether there's a new high or not, having a big move lower from this stage when you've seen these large volatile moves, well, that doesn't become a surprise either way. I'm expecting big volatility, and so I just explained basically the two key up and down sides, and it's, if you've been in this market for a while, you know, of course, about the big volatility that can come into play, which has been relatively not so volatile lately. QTIM has an interesting setup as well, as this is showing at least within the Binance coin. This thing was up, at least on the April Fool's rally, and this is crossed against BNB, but very similar type of looking stuff against Bitcoin. 171 down here, 33 cents, so about a 5x loss. Nothing, pretty standard compared to other cryptocurrencies. But what this has done is it has established a big level of resistance. It has done so right in here. Because there has been 3 situations, and one very close one, in which this level has been tested. It hits it on September the 23rd. And this is the 400-minute time frame. Comes back to support. This is where it comes close to hitting it, but not quite. And then in here, I mean, all this means is that, for me, if you are holding this coin and you're trading this, 36 is the basis points. If you're happy about 20-ish% moves or lower, that means sell orders come into play. And you get the buyback. Maybe you don't sell here because, okay, you bought back at 37, you're going to put another sell order in about 42. This sell order maybe not, you would have been like hoping it would have hit, but regardless of the fact, this was not too interesting of a rally, but somewhat interesting. This level of support, pretty much a matching low, but technically lower low, comes up to this resistance point on October the 17th. Right back now, and it's doing very well as of late amongst the 18. Getting above these types of key points. And as I was showing on the daily, how much, I mean, there's just a lot of empty space here. That you're talking about this coming up to 53, then maybe this level of resistance at about 67. And even the April Fool's lows is in at a full one single unit or matching price, QTIM and Binance being equal priced. And it's got to go up about 150% to get to that stage. I think it very easily could. But as we've seen within this movement since the April Fool's high, straight down, then it goes sideways. It established resistance at 72, but it never ever tested it one more time. It came close on the July the 9th, and it established another level of resistance at 68, but it never got above it. And then after this low, it established this high in at 48, and it's still, that would be the next level of resistance. You could think, okay, maybe that could be a spot it goes to, but it didn't get above it. And then it did so with this high here, continuing to go lower. And then it did so with this high, but since then, it has flattened the 18 average out, rather than what has been declining 18 average that has been previous to such. So that has been the change in that type of market, which really gets me very positive in the probability odds that if this breaks out relatively soon in the next few days or today above this level, that it's got a very good chance of some decent gains. And here I am talking, it's over 24 minutes. So I'm going to conclude today's video. I'd like to thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.